Hello and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland. With me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, hello, happy Wednesday and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. I'm your host, my name is Kelly, and today we're doing something a little bit different. We're actually going to look at an anonymous question all about spouses sharing finances. We're going to have a look at some people's perspectives on the matter, and then I'm going to end by sharing some wisdom that I hope will help solve the problem. And also, if you have any anonymous questions of your own, at the end I'll share where you can submit them and how we can talk about your questions. And I also want to hear what you think about the matter at hand. So we have this amazing Facebook group called Help, I'm Getting Married, and it's for couples all over Ireland or couples from outside of Ireland that are getting married in Ireland. It's a great space for planning your wedding. So if you're getting married in Ireland, or if you live in Ireland and you're getting married soon and you're not in the group, where have you been? I'm going to share a link to the group in the notes because it's a great space to plan your wedding, to find recommendations for suppliers, to talk to your dream supplier team, and bonus, you can make new friends too. Well, one of the things that I love about the group is there's the option for an anonymous question. Now, there are some rules around anonymous questions in the group. If you are planning a hen party and you don't want the bride to know and you're the bridesmaid, that's not really the kind of thing that the anonymous questions are for. It's more for sensitive material. It's questions that, that you wouldn't put your name with, and sometimes the moderators in the group will use their discretion and say, this isn't the right question, but we'll help you privately. But every once in a while you get a question that loads of people have been thinking and asking as well. And today we have one of those. So this is the anonymous question. My partner and I got talking about finances. Me being me, I just assumed that we would share all our money as we both work full-time and will soon start paying a mortgage on a house we are buying together. Turns out I jumped the gun because he thinks that the ideal financial arrangement would be that we both contribute equally to the running costs of our home, holidays, and that kind of thing. I have my own car and I pay the loan, insurance, and all the things associated with that. I'm a new driver, so insurance is stiff. He doesn't need a car because he works from home and we've got a good bus route by our house. So obviously I'm going to have very little left at the end of the month as my wages are also a lot less. I'm thinking about maternity leave too and how I'll manage with less money. Anyway, this is the question from the anonymous poster. My question is, how do other people organize all of this? Is this a usual run-of-the-mill scenario? And she ends by saying, I'm embarrassed now that I never had this conversation and I got it so wrong. Firstly, there's nothing to be embarrassed by. This is totally normal to have conversations like this. And I'm going to end by sharing just a few other conversations that couples need to have. But I'm also going to share what some of the commenters shared as well, just to get some different perspectives on the matter. Laura says, why should you have to pay for more than him? It's going to be you driving him around. Good point. Lauren says, financial independence is very important. Why should he have to pay for your car? And then she shares that she has a car in her relationship. She pays for all the things to do with the car, except if her partner needs to use it, he'll put the petrol in. That makes sense too. She also says, I go to loads of concerts, so why should he pay for that when only I benefit? People end up being bitter and resentful. Carrie weighs in and says, do you have two cars? What if you have one car and it's the family car? That becomes a joint expense. What about when you have kids? Is it still only going to be you driving the car, or do the kids get driven around in it too? It's like a house or an apartment. It's both of you using it. It's not just one, and that makes it a joint expense. She then says, you'll realize almost everything is a joint expense as the relationship grows. Good point. Paula says the cost of car and insurance was a choice that you took before you were ever even married to him. So not splitting the cost should have been something you factored in from the get-go. Rachel weighed in and said, from the beginning, whatever money we get is joint money. It's not his or mine. It's all ours. So we've got loads of different perspectives here that I find so interesting. And it seems like the two schools of thought are what's mine is mine. What's my partner's is my partner's. I should be able to do what I want with my money. They can do what they want with theirs. Then the other school of thought is everything's joint, everything's shared, there's trust, and we just share everything responsibly. So let's have a look and see what a few other people say. Lixie says, it's your car, it's your financial responsibility. He shouldn't have to cough up for your extras unless he's actually using it. Neve says, I would think that if he also uses the car, i.e. if he gets lifts from you or you both go to places together, then he should contribute to the insurance and the tax too. She also says if this is an issue, then maybe a bigger conversation is needed. In my opinion, your future husband would happily support you and wouldn't see an issue with this. Leonie says, personally, I prefer to keep my money separate after the bills are paid. My money is my money, his money is his money. I don't ask what he does and he doesn't ask me. I couldn't imagine sharing as I feel like I'd have to ask for money to do things that I like. Things like getting my nails done, getting my lashes done. Leanne says, we do things together. It's not what's mine is mine and hers is hers. When we're married and ready to buy, our plan is to put our wages in together and then we live off the lump sum each month. Helen says, if he doesn't drive or ask you to drive him around, then it's your expense. And then Emma shares, I'm pregnant at the moment with our second baby and I plan on taking 6 months unpaid leave when my paid maternity leave ends. And there's no way that my husband is going to let my phone get cut off for not paying the bill. What's mine is his and what's his is mine. Regardless of who gets paid more, we both work our butts off every day at work. Great perspective. So I'll summarize the two schools of thought again. The one is, I have my money, my partner has their money, we do what we want, I'll take over the responsibilities of anything that only I'm using. And then there was a lot of compromise where people were saying, if they're things that you both do, those are considered joint expenses. And then the other school of thought is everything is shared and we should all share the expenses, we should share the responsibility. It doesn't matter how much you earn, how much your partner earns. Now, I'm going to bring us to a conclusion and then share some thoughts. And the conclusion, I think, was said very well by one of the commenters whose name is Anna. She says, it's better to discuss things before getting married so both parties are on the same page. Sometimes things like finances can be deal breakers. I don't think that anyone can advise you what to do, nor should you take what other couples do and approach your fiance with, well, this is what other couples do. Your finances are literally only you and your fiance's business, and you both have to come to a decision jointly or it will never work out, especially when it's got to do with money. There's no right or wrong way, it's only what is right for you both, and there has to be a compromise on both sides. And I have to say, I 100% agree with Anna. All the perspectives that we spoke about, you could make an argument for any of them. But the main thing is two partners have to agree on what they think is right for them. And so my advice is before getting married, have this conversation with your partner. Sit down and discuss anything to do with finances. And that could be things like, what do you earn? You and your partner should be open about what you earn. You should speak about what you're willing to spend on expenses like rent. What do you find is reasonable? Do you agree on what you think you guys should afford and what you can pay for? And then you can talk about other expenses, like do you want to have your own kind of pocket money where every month you've got a little bit of money that you can do whatever you want with that money. Your partner doesn't get to judge you if you're going to spend that on getting your nails done. And equally, if your partner wants to go out and do something with their money, you don't get to be upset about it because you've already agreed ahead of time. The key here is to have conversations about it before getting married. For many people, finances can be a deal breaker. Some people don't have a great relationship with money, and so they have opinions about what to do with it, and their partner may have completely opposite opinions. And there's so much you can do to work towards a compromise. What I can say is many people say that the first year of marriage is probably one of the most stressful years. That's not true for everyone, but what you don't want to be doing is dealing with this type of stressful conversation while also getting to know your partner who's now become your spouse and all the different things that come with that. So my advice is before getting married, and even before you're planning your wedding, if you can get away with it, talk about all of these things. Talk about your finances, have these difficult conversations, and reach a compromise where it doesn't feel like you're rushed to have a decision right now, but you've got time to really work it out together. I'm also going to list a couple of other things that I think you guys should speak about with your partner before getting married. And I'm going to just rattle them off quickly. I've got 4 things for you. So in addition to finances, talk about your friends. How often do you want to see your friends together and separately? Now, you might have a large group of mutual friends, or you may have some friends of your own that, these are people that your partner doesn't really hang out with. Both of those are healthy, but you want to work out what you agree is an acceptable amount of time to be spending with people together and with your friends separately. Now, it's completely healthy to spend lots of time with your partner. It's also completely healthy to spend time with your friends. What's not healthy is when you isolate yourself and you're only hanging out with your partner, or where you never have any quality time with your partner because you're constantly going out with your friends. So have that conversation about what the balance is for you. Next thing, household chores. So many petty arguments can come from things like household chores, like I'm always doing the dishes and you never do anything. Conversations like that, they're petty, but they can really cause resentment if you don't speak up. So here's my advice. Talk about it ahead of time. You may have something that you've seen your parents model for you, and your partner's parents may have done something totally different. Discuss what you think is acceptable. Which chores do you want to do? Which chores does your partner want to do? Should they be shared? Should they be divvied up? Work it out together and come up with something that you agree on, because you can't hold your partner liable for something that they didn't know you had in your mind. They're not mind readers. Third thing, talking about the in-laws. How often do you want to spend time with your in-laws once you get married? And what do you think is an acceptable, or what do you think is what are you happy to share with your in-laws, really, is the conversation. For example, your mom might be a nurse, and so if you get a cold, you may naturally want to give her a call and say, hey, what should I do? But your partner might want to be the one who's actually going to look after you. So have those conversations. And then the final thing is your bucket list. Have you always imagined taking a year off where you can travel with your partner, but maybe your partner wants to stay in their small town and never leave? Those are obviously 2 complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's important to discuss your bucket list and aspirations. Could be things like, do you want to have children or not? Do you want to have pets or not? Do you want to buy a home, or do you find it's okay to rent forever? Talk about those types of things together and make sure you're on the same page. Now, as I mentioned, if you have your own anonymous questions, you can submit them. Obviously, there's the Help I'm Getting Married group, which I highly recommend using. But if you want to submit questions directly to me for the podcast, we're going to get some experts answering them. So if you have questions about wedding planning, maybe you find yourself in a sticky situation with a wedding planning dilemma and you don't know how to solve it, send us your questions. We're going to get some wedding planning experts to give advice on what to do, some professional advice. This isn't just anyone on Facebook sharing what they think. These are the pros telling us what they think as well. So if that's you and you have questions, you can send us a direct message on Instagram. We are at Weddings Online, or you can send an email to me directly. I am Kelly at weddingsonline.ie. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to have a chat with you, and with your permission, I would love to include your question in the podcast. We're not going to do this every week, but every once in a while, we're going to tackle some difficult anonymous questions. So please do get in touch. Well, thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays at Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered, and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists, and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.